Welcome, everybody. We have another really good episode of Beyond the Drape tonight where we discuss everything and anything outside of actually doing anesthesia. We have CRNAs that come on and we discuss different topics. So tonight's topic is alternative investing. We're going to get a few of our colleagues on. Vincent Cagungun on, Leslie Awasom, and also Josh Candado. So give us just a little bit. Leslie, Vince.
What up, what
What's
up? Can you hear
up?
me?
Yeah, I can hear everybody, and we're also going to get Josh on here here he is. We'll see if we can get him on board and we'll get going.
Lovely.
Leslie, that spot's looking dope, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Leslie, I think you just got off a Zoom call, didn't you? Or you have one after the.
Yeah. No, I just got off one. I was hosting one in that community. I just got off that one, then I'm jumping on
Oh,
here.
awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I was telling everybody, thanks for getting on here with us, everybody. This is episode 11 of Beyond the Drape, where we discuss things outside of anesthesia. We're all CRNAs, so tonight's topic is alternative investing, and we have a super great crew on tonight. We have Vincent Cagungun, we have Josh Candado, Leslie Awasom, and so we're going to get started. All these guys, you can find them on their social media pages. If you guys want to plug that in the comments, that'd be wonderful, so they can check out your pages if they haven't seen you or heard about you before. But let's get started. I just want to go over how long you guys have been a CRNA, where are you from, and where are you located now, and when did you start investing outside of just your traditional 401k? And if Josh, you want to go first and give us a quick rundown.
Sounds good. Sorry, I'm just typing in my social there. So I've been a CRNA since 2018, February 2018, so a little more than 6 years. I've been in Wisconsin the whole time. Started out in a couple of big hospitals. When I first graduated, it was important for me to do open hearts, and that faded as the years went on.
Yeah.
So now I work in rural Wisconsin, and I've been up here ever since 2018.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the open hearts. You kind of have that big drive right out of school to do all you can and get your hands on anything possible, regional OB, open hearts. And then it's kind of like, okay, I'm looking for something a little more chill. And especially when you get into these alternative investing strategies and companies, hey, let's take our mind away from such stressful situations at work and let's focus on something else. So that's a good point, Josh. Leslie, good to see you, man. I saw Leslie back in I saw you in New York, then I saw you in San Diego. So always good to see you, Leslie.
I don't see
What did
Leslie on the
we
wow.
lost him for a minute. We'll get him back on. Vince,
Yeah,
if you wanna jump in.
yeah, absolutely. I've been a CRNA for about
Um,
4 years. I'm located currently now in Colorado. I kind of bounce around. If you don't know me, I do locums anesthesia, kind of bouncing around. And so 2 weeks ago I was in Massachusetts. Today I'm in Colorado. And I've been investing outside of the traditional 401k for maybe the last 6 years.
Heck yeah. So good to see you, Vince. I saw you just a couple of weeks ago in Texas. Saw you in New York. Leslie, you had some troubles with data or something, but we lost you for a second. I saw you back in New York a few months ago, then
yeah,
San Diego. But Josh, it's good to meet you, man. We never spoke in person, but thanks for
yeah.
dropping in here with us. Leslie, I was just asking the guys, go over how long they've been a CRNA, how long they've been investing outside of just your traditional 401k, and where are you located? Where are you from? Just a quick little introduction about you.
All right, great. By the way, thank you so much for having me. I've been a CRNA for 9 years. Started investing outside of the traditional 401k back in 2017. That's when I started investing in real estate. Then I transitioned to multifamily in 2019. So I'm located in Maryland. I'm currently now in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I spend most of my time.
Awesome. Do you do mostly investing in Maryland right now, Leslie? I think you were working on some deals maybe outside of that, right?
Yes, So no, we invest outside of Maryland in the Southeast region, and yeah, that's what I mostly do. The real estate. Then I also own the clinic, the name in the back, which is my ketamine infusion clinic. So
Yes.
yeah, that's where I spend
Awesome.
most of my time. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wherever
What's
there's
the name of
a
that?
good deal, Leslie's
it's
gonna find it.
it's
If
called
it's
Feed It
apartments
Over.
and syndicating it, he's gonna find it.
Tell us that name again, Leslie, and drop that
It's
in the comments. And people may want to send you a DM about ketamine clinics. So just drop that in there for us if you don't mind. But
it
Vince, if
be
you
the
want to get
number one
started,
referral.
man, what kind of motivated you? Obviously we all get out of CRNA school, we start making money, and then you're like, man, I have to do something with this money. And then especially being 1099, we're always trying to find out not necessarily how to make more money, but how to keep more money. So a lot of these investing strategies you guys are going to talk about and just tax strategies, they help you actually keep more money at the end of the year and pay less taxes. So I tell people all the time, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep. So when did you start thinking about that? What kind of motivated you to say like, hey, I'm okay with the traditional 401k, but I'm also wanting to look outside of that? Was it during CRNA school, way before CRNA school, after? What's kind of your journey with that?
No, I think that before I became a CRNA, I was just kind of like financially um, unaware, really. I didn't know how to manage my money. Nobody really taught me how to do 401ks or retirement or anything like that. But when I graduated, it was like, oh, shoot, it's like a celebrity or a football player. You know, you go from making very little to making a lot. And then you just have to, it's a very quick turn. You have to know how to manage all of this money once you're making it. And so for me, it was, I really started to dive into the education piece. Like how do I make this money make more money? And I think I started first with taxation. Like you said, like you can make a ton of money, but if you're not keeping it, if you don't know how to keep most of your money, then you're doing it all wrong. Like I call knowing your taxation law is like the rich man's coupon cutting. You got to know the rules. You got to know how to play the game, where to go, and then from there, I started learning how to actually invest your money.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. You get out of school and you make this money and then you find ways of like how to keep more. But also for me, I felt like I didn't get bored once I was out of CRNA school, but we're all nurses who then take the CCRN and motivated to go to CRNA school. We do that for 2.5, 3 years, depending on what kind of school you're in. Then you get out of that and you're gung ho, like Josh said, to do hearts and OB, regional, all the things. And then it's kind of like, okay, let me step back and what else can I learn about? And so that was kind of my motivation on maybe some alternative investing and kind of diving into that and seeing what research I could find out on how can, like you said, Vincent, how can my money make more money and how can we multiply this and really build wealth? So, Josh, do you want to tell us about really what motivated you to get into real estate? And can you tell us also, I'm not that familiar with your podcast. I've seen a few episodes, but I thought that's really awesome and it's with
Yeah,
your family. So kind of
yes.
tell us about that and what really got you motivated to start that and then start the real estate.
Yeah, so the real estate came first, but I'll touch on the podcast real quick. So it's my brother-in-law and sister, they're both nurses. We all found ourselves at some point burnt out or at different levels of burnt out and wanted to just kind of educate and talk to other people who are financially pretty literate because we didn't get a lot of education in finances through nursing school or CRNA school or any kind of
Right.
school that we had gotten through. So we started a podcast. We talked to a lot of other nurses. We bring on occasional another guest, but mostly it's healthcare workers and nurses that are financially literate and doing some sort of side hustle or some sort of business outside of healthcare. Um, but our investment strategy is real estate, and we started that back in 2020. My first thoughts kind of happened because in 2019 I was working so much. That's kind of the only way I saw on how to make money. And one reason I started looking for other alternatives because I was starting to get a little bit burnt out, and I saw a ceiling on the income that a CRNA could make. However high, it is pretty high.
Mhm.
I still saw a ceiling, and I didn't really like that idea. And with real estate, you can continue to buy, and there's no ceiling at any point.
Absolutely. I've told people that so many times with any kind of company, real estate, whatever you do in the business world, there's literally the sky's the limit. So, yes, you're right. We can make so much money as CRNAs and live a great lifestyle, and that's perfect for so many people. But then there's people like us who's like, okay, we've reached the limit. Now let's see what else we can do. And when you start businesses or companies, real estate, whatever you're involved in, literally the sky's the limit. As much work as you want to put into it, you can, and you can get that much back. So that's awesome. I tell people that all the time too, Josh. Leslie, tell us a little bit about what got you motivated in the real estate. I know you said you've been a CRNA 9 years. Did that all start within the last 9 years or prior to even getting into CRNA school?
For me, it started back in 2008, right? That was like when I graduated nursing school, actually,
Okay.
like on orientation. My preceptor, I was getting orientation when the stock market crashed in 2008. And my
Mm.
preceptor was preceptor. She's an older nurse. She's been in the career for like 30 years. Getting off, was talking about retirement in 5, 10 years. She got a call from my husband, and then she walked out of the ICU. I was in the medical ICU. She walked out, came back with this flustered look on her face, like something really bad had happened. I wasn't quite sure what it was, you know. So a few days later, I found out that her and her husband had lost a significant portion of their 401k plan to that stock market crash of 2008. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm gonna go to school, work all these years, and then like that in one day it just disappears. So that really like did something to my mind. It kept me really unsettled. It made me understand that the job, this 401k strategy that gets taught to us is not as secure as they make it sound. You know, so when I went back to school and became a CRNA, I always knew that as a CRNA, I'm going to have to figure out some other ways to create wealth. Like I just didn't know what. And I had the same feeling that you're talking about, where you're making this income and then you feel like there's that ceiling to your growth. It's like, oh my God, what's next? You know, is this it? Is this what I'm going to keep doing? So that's when I started actually educating myself, reading books on financial education, then came across real estate, and that piqued my interest. Then I got into that, and that just led to this journey of growth. You know, I realized that I really love this whole aspect of building businesses and growing stuff. So yeah, so I love it. The real estate journey has been amazing so far. It's really helped me in my growth as well.
Yeah. So that happened in 2008. What year did you either get involved in your first syndication or buy your first property after that? What year was that, if you remember?
2017. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, so it's funny, right? Because that happens, you feel like, oh, I'm gonna figure it out and go do something else. No, you're still stuck in that mindset of like, I don't. This is the safe route. But I still have that unsettling feeling. Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna keep selling this 401k? It wasn't until I came across a book that opened my mind that I really had the courage to look outside of the traditional
Yeah.
path.
Yeah. I think a really good book for just anyone to read, whether you're in the middle of investing, never done it, you want to learn about it, whether that's business, starting your own company, real estate, is The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Everybody, I feel like, has heard of that by Robert Kiyosaki. Leslie, what book are you referring to that people could look into as far as real estate or investing that kind of changed your mindset?
For me, it was a book by Robert Kiyosaki, but it's not Rich Dad
Okay.
Poor Dad. It's Second Chance,
Okay.
Second Chance at Your Money and Your Life. I actually read that, then went back and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. But that was the book that really answered a lot of questions for me and opened my mind up for more possibilities.
Yes, no, he's awesome to listen to, and he has podcasts, YouTube's, books. He can really help you start learning about a different mindset rather than just being an employee. So that's someone really good to listen to. I was going to say this question till later, but we've already got this question in the comments, and so we have some SRNAs, some students listening. What kind of recommendation or what would you tell them? Let's say they have student loans, or obviously they don't have an income now, they're not able to work in school, or even CRNAs that do have student loans. What are you telling students, CRNAs with current debt about investing? Are you telling them, hey, focus on your loans first, or go ahead and start investing in real estate, or start your own company, invest in yourself? What kind of knowledge are you going to give these people? And if Josh, you want to start first, maybe give us your story or kind of some quick advice.
Sure. Yeah, I used to tell everybody, or I used to go through like the mathematical calculations on why it's not wise to pay off your student loans first. But then I paid off all my student loans, and I realized that it's an emotional burden that I think not everybody's willing to just hang on to. And so I would say it's different for everybody depending on what your goals are. You got to figure out what your goals are, what you want to do, and what you want to achieve, and then you can make a decision there. But if you're basically, or if you're strictly looking at the numbers, it's better to start investing earlier.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. With the equations, if you were to literally write down, hey, I'm going to spend this much on my student loans versus investing it, it totally makes sense to invest it first. But then you have to factor in the equation of how many people are actually going to take that sum of money and invest it over the next 10 years that way versus paying off their student loans. So, yeah, just like locum work, I tell people all the time, it's about what you and your family want to do. You guys need to sit down and figure out financially kind of what direction you want to go and what that looks like for you and your family. So same thing with investments. And Vince, what's kind of your recommendation for anybody with loans or students that's wanting to maybe go ahead and get into real estate?
I think it boils down to like your appetite for risk, you know? So for me, I feel that I'm very risk averse. And so I move forward with caution, but when opportunity arises, I move aggressively. And so if a person has like the appetite for risk, let's say they have a lot of money set up as an emergency fund for 6 months, they have the retirement accounts maxed out before they went to CRNA school, then yeah, let's start talking about alternative stuff because getting in the game early, like you guys said, the way compounding interest works is all you got to do is beat 7%, which is the stock market, which is not hard to do. Now, if you don't have any type of appetite for risk because you don't have all the other foundational pieces in place, um, then I would say get those foundational pieces in place first and then start talking to any four of us.
Yeah, the most beautiful thing about all of us right here, and even students or CRNAs listening, is the backup plan or your current plan is you are a CRNA. Like you have the ability to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that is not common to most people when they say, hey, I'm going to buy into this syndication or I'm going to start this company. They don't have the backing of, well, I can always just go make 350 grand tomorrow, you know? So that's a huge plan to start with. And being in school, you're already a step ahead of so many people. So like Vince said, if you're okay taking the risk, take the risk. Because when you get out of school, you're going to be able to make money. So just make sure you're making strong decisions and have your family involved and see what route you want to take. But Leslie, any advice to any of those SRNAs or people with loans out there?
I'm going to reiterate what Josh said, right? Investments or any strategy is individual based. You know, there's a lot of advice of one size fits all advice that goes out there for people, but you got to know who yourself and then what you can tolerate, the amount of risk that you can tolerate, and all that. For me, I did not pay off my student loans before I started investing in real estate. I started investing in real estate, co-founded Excite Capital while I still had student loans. It wasn't a few years after we co-founded the company that I was able to pay off my student loans. You know, so the advice I'll give to anybody watching this is like the one sure investment that is not going to fail you. It doesn't matter what stage you're in. Is an investment in yourself, right? Because when we get on this course and talk about investments, a lot of things that you want to think about is just take your money and go give it to somebody or putting it somewhere and see something come out of it. But the biggest investment, which I highly encourage, even your CRNA, SRNA, invest in yourself. Josh talked about the podcast and all of that. Start listening to that. Start reading some of these books and expanding your mind because when the right opportunity comes, you will have the right preparation to be able to strike on it, like Vinny said.
Yeah, I like that. I heard something the other day, and it was talking about investing in yourself. And obviously, you can invest in real estate and the stock market, but there's a point in your life where the best investment that no one else has in this world is you. So you can invest in yourself, and if you do it correctly and focus and do your research, like Leslie said, that's going to be the best investment you can make at that time. And so I think this may help answer several people's questions that are hesitant about maybe jumping in that we just talked about that have student loans or they're in school. But What's something you guys wish you would have done sooner as far as investing, and what was that? Vince, you wanna take the floor first?
Honestly, so I was investing all throughout my program. I started investing in 18, finished school in 2020. And one thing I wish I did earlier before I even got into school was really investing in real estate, understanding that every wealthy individual is in the real estate game. So understanding real estate, and it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with private lending, you got apartment syndications, mobile home parks, like acquisitions. It doesn't matter. The real estate equation is very, very similar regardless of the sector you go into. So I think if I could go back in time as a younger Vinny, I would say I would be investing early on with with mentorship and a community. You got to surround
Right,
yourself with people who are doing the same things that you want to do, and then you got to plug in with somebody who's already doing it.
right.
And I think each and every one of us here actually do that. I believe like Leslie and Josh and I already do that within our different sectors. And even with Locum CRNA, like you guys already teach how to get from W-2 to 1099 and then start using the ecosystem that we have built around us.
That's exactly right. And like Vince said, all these three guys here, you can reach out to them and they can definitely help you work on that strategy of investing, whether you're a nurse, a new grad CRNA in school, or you've been a CRNA for 10 years. So, Leslie, I know earlier you told the story about you heard one of your patient's family members lose everything in 2008, and then you didn't invest until 2017. So I don't want to make an assumption, but
Yeah.
what do you wish you would have done sooner?
You answered the question for me, Josh. I wish I had started investing in real estate in 2008
Heck
because
yeah.
as the stock market was crashing, real estate market was crashing. So I actually had some family members that lost home. And here in Maryland, I can't not forget there's this condominium somewhere in Silver Spring where every unit was foreclosed upon, and they were selling each one of those units for $10,000. And I had the ability to purchase one of those, but I did not because I was so afraid, right? Because, like one of my mentors said, real estate and stocks are the only two assets that, when they're on discounts, everybody's afraid to buy. And when they are peaked, that's when everybody's rushing to buy. So looking back in 2008, I wish I would have started then. But like they said, the best time to have started investing in 2008, but the next best time is now. So for me, that's really what I wish I would have done. But this goes in cycles. We're back in that cycle right now, especially in commercial real estate where things are bottomed out. So now is the time to jump in again as well. So again, you got to look at this from a long-term perspective. 10 years from now, we're going to be in another bottom cycle. So jump in more and keep growing.
Right. Let me ask you this. So that condo was 10 grand in '08. Any idea roughly what it would cost you to buy now?
Oh my God, you really want me to answer this question?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's about
Let's hear
450. It's about
it.
$450,000 today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I was just talking to a guy, like you said, actually it was last night, and real estate is at its cheapest today. People always get worried about the numbers and where it's headed, but if you look at the long term, real estate, buy today, it's not going to be cheaper 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, just like Leslie said. So, Josh, I think you're probably going to sing the same tune here, but what's something you wish you would have done earlier on if you would have known?
You got it right. Yeah. So I wish I had bought real estate 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We bought our first investment property in 2020, and it was the best decision we could have made. And we kept buying after that. But I wish I had started in 2012 instead, or 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even 2020 was a scary time. I'm not sure if it was March or April or past then, when COVID started, but that was a pretty scary time for the stock market, for real estate, for everything. So
Dude,
when did you purchase your
I bought
property?
a 20 unit apartment complex that closed January 2021. Or sorry, 2020, January 2020. And I was it was I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, how is this whole thing going to go down? I
Oh
need
yeah.
to, I had told myself to trust that, hey, I was in my third year of CRNA school, and then I closed this deal, and then the news was like, oh, COVID's happening. And I'm like, oh my Lord, how is this going to go down? And I just had to tell myself, you got to trust. You got to trust yourself, your decisions. You are where you're at because of the decisions you've made. Your outcomes speak for yourself. So I had to trust. Yo, we made like $750,000 on that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my
Uh,
first property we got April of 2020. So I mean we trusted the numbers. People need somewhere to live, so it's extremely a safe investment. And I mean I'll second your point that you made earlier is like when I'm talking to CRNAs, it's a completely different story to when I'm talking to anybody else about investing because we make such a strong income outside of investing. We can afford to lose some money and take some lessons from that loss.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you do make a mistake in alternative investing, it's almost like going to school. You learn something, so your next investment's going to be that much stronger.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to the next question: is there any maybe an investment that was super successful that surprised you? It sounds like Vinny's may have been, but also on the alternative, is there any investment that kind of shocked you and you felt like you made a mistake? And what did you learn from that? And how did you move forward? If Josh, you wanna kick us off on that?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, all of our so we started buying manufactured housing communities, mobile home parks, and we bought them creatively, and a lot of them like creative financed. And so anything that we buy that cash flows day one without any money out of our own pockets is a win. And that's been all of them except for one, and that was very early on, and that was not a mobile home park. That was just a single family flip that we bought. And we ended up actually making money on it, but our mistake was not getting an inspection. So we will not make that mistake again. We avoided the inspection to save
Oh,
$300, and
oh my
we
gosh.
ended up dealing with a fire that we didn't know had happened in that house. So
Yeah, I was gonna
I
ask
mean,
how much was that in would that inspection have been? $300, you said.
300-ish, yeah, somewhere around there.
Oh,
I mean, like I said, we still made money on the deal, but it was just a lot more headache than we thought.
yeah. We just got a comment that says, "Why is Josh the coolest person I've ever met?" So shout out to Josh. Um, Leslie, do you have any super successful deals that you've done that really shocked you, or any times you've made mistakes and what you learned from it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one deal that really shocked us, we actually bought it to April of 2021. And I think there's a common theme here for anybody that's looking to invest. When everybody is scared, that's when you go in. Because at that time of COVID, there was a lot of fear in the market. We bought this 32 unit building in Columbia, South Carolina, 12.55 million, and we sold it 21 months later for $17.8 million. And our investors, we were projecting like 18% average on our returns. The investors actually ended up making 30% average on our returns. So that was a deal that was just smoking hot. Everything went right and it did awesome, right? On the other end of the spectrum, we bought another deal here in Baltimore that was a distressed asset that the bank was foreclosing upon, and they reached out to our CEO, so we're able to acquire that property. Looking at all the stats, having a little bit of confidence, we thought we're going to get in the market and stabilize that asset in 6 months. But it took us 18 months, 18 painful months of stabilizing that asset, having to get rid of the tenants that were not paying and all of that. So, but we finally got it stabilized. And some of those challenges actually build you up as a business owner. It actually builds you up as an investor. I've come to reframe any challenges that we face along the way. It's truly a learning opportunity. And if you're so focused so much on the challenges itself, you miss out on the important lessons and growth that comes from it. So yeah, so that particular experience has been a really huge learning experience for us. And yeah, so but like real estate, like Josh said, it is like time. As long as you manage right and you do well, you're in a good market. Time always corrects most mistakes. So over time, the asset is still going to do really well. But we're a little bit too ambitious up front.
Yeah, I agree with that. Time definitely helps so much. I feel like in the CRNA community, I have friends even that hold on to so much cash just into either a savings account or money market. And I kind of wanted to tie this into my question because there's so much fear, even in the younger CRNAs, people in their 20s, 30s, even early and mid 40s, they're like, well, I'm holding on to this money because you're scared. We've already kind of talked about that. But what's kind of one misconception about alternative investments that you guys would like to tell our audience? And Josh, if you want to tell us first, but I could tell you from my experience, you're always going to make or be able to make more money tomorrow. And as a CRNA, like we've said, we have this awesome income we can go back to. But Josh, if you want to tell the audience kind of what's a misconception of alternative investing that you'd like them to know.
I mean, I would say the biggest misconception is that holding on to your cash is the safest thing to do. I would argue that it's safer to put it into a hard asset that's not going away at any point in time. Like everybody needs somewhere to live. Even though I have the advantage of not really have paid attention to the 2008 crash, so I have a huge advantage there. I guess I was in college and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on there, so I have an advantage there. I know some older people probably have a hard time letting something like that
Yeah.
go. Um, but real estate, if you look at the last 100 years, real estate always comes back, and I think the average it doubles in value every 20 to 25 years, no matter at what point in time you look at it.
Yeah. Great answer. And Leslie, if you want to top that off.
So I'll have to say, I don't blame our community for being like very skeptical, and it's part of what the training that has been ingrained in us. And I had to catch myself doing this as an investor, as a business owner, because in anesthesia we are taught like we go to school to think about everything that could go wrong in surgery so that we prevent it from happening, right? That's the training we get every day, and that's what we go into the OR every day that we experience. So a lot of times we take that out into investing as well. When we're looking at investments, we focus on everything that may go wrong and missing out on the opportunity that might come from it. So again, there's a lot of misconceptions on this. For example, in multifamily real estate, I get a lot of people talk to me and say, "Oh, REITs, I'll just go invest in REITs. It's safer." Right. But when you're investing in REITs, you're investing in the stock market. You're really not investing in alternative assets because if the stock market crashes, you lose money on those REITs. And guess what the owners of those REITs do? They aggregate your funds and they take it and they come and invest in like syndications with experienced operators like ourselves, which is what is happening to one of our assets right now. So then you end up losing the gains that you could get from investing directly with the operator. So again, there's a lot of misconception and it's lack of education. So it's just about I think that's why I really love this conversation that we're having, because I think we need to do more to educate members of our community, because your money can do so much more for you out there in the private markets, not just real estate, other alternative assets. You could do so much more with your money and really retire with a wonderful nest egg.
Yeah, that's a good point. Vincent, do you have something to add to Josh and Leslie there?
Yeah, I feel like I've fallen for every misconception out there, you know? Like the reality of holding on to money, like money erodes, right? So it will lose value over time. And so if the stock market gets you 7% and it erodes at a 4 to 5%, you're going at a snail's pace of 2%. Like you're not growing very fast. And so a lot of people don't realize that like your starting point is at 4%. So everything that you make it has to beat 5% and up. Right. So with private lending for us, like we're doing 14% to our passive investors. And you could get, if you do it yourself, you can go all the way up to 18 to 19 to 20, 21% where you lend out your money. There's usury laws for each state that stop you from being like a shark and being like, hey, I'll give you 100 grand if you give me 25, 30% back. But the thing is like you actually have to beat 5% for you to start making money. And yeah, the stock market gets you 7. There's other places that get you much, much more.
Yeah, that's so true. I think is it the banks, every dollar they hold on to of your money, they're able to loan out, is it like 10 times? Is it
16.
10 times? 16
Yeah,
times? Just crazy,
$16.
people sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in a money market or savings account. The bank's like, thank you, and they're lending that money and making way more money than what you're making in that money market
What
account.
people don't understand is that our banking system is based off of a fractionalized system. So, like you said, when we put $1 in, they can lend out $10, even though they only got $1 in the bank. So, it's all based off of debt. And so, leveraging that, like, we got to understand we have to be able to beat that inflation as value. Whatever the value of $1 goes down, you have to continue to grow. You can't just stay on the sidelines, or else you're gonna be broke. You'll be like Mama, who got like $100,000 in the bank, and you've been working for 40 years, and it's like, no, not in our position. We should be at least, even Mama, CRNA Mama should be having like $2-3 million at the end of their career, not because they did things right. They did it because they were scared and fear based, but they still make so much money that they can do that. But the reality is, most people who aren't making $200,000-300,000 can't.
Yeah. So, and just to add to that, right? The bank is actually like when you save the money in the bank, you indirectly investing in real estate. You just don't get the benefit from it because the debt is the bank that's investing. Like when we invest, when we buy large apartment buildings, our biggest investor is the bank, right? And the bank loves to invest in these assets because it's backed by a solid asset. So your money in the bank is earning the bank a higher percentage, and the bank is giving you a smaller percentage where you could just go in and do it directly, So,
Just be a
um,
bank.
so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Man, we didn't even get to we're kind of at that 35-minute mark, so we'll have to wrap up soon, but we didn't even get to scratch the surface of how this affects our taxes as 1099 providers and how we're able to keep more of our income. So maybe next round, hopefully these guys will agree to do it. I think everybody listening in has enjoyed this so far. So we'll do a round two in the next few months and go take a deeper dive into how this can really affect me as a locum or 1099 provider, maybe even as a W-2 who has a spouse that could be considered a real estate investor. So before we go, though, I want to make sure everybody knows where to find you guys. If you could plug kind of your company or businesses that you run, where to find you at on social media, and then even websites that you have. And Leslie, if you want to go first, just let everybody know.
Absolutely. My name is Leslie Awasom on all the social media platforms. I'm kind of active, very active on LinkedIn and Instagram. And you could come join us. Our community, like you mentioned, I was doing a presentation earlier, is community.excitecapital.com. That's XSITE, X as in X-ray, SITE capital.com, community.excitecapital.com. Come join us. We provide a ton of education. It's specifically about these topics that we're talking about. And I saw somebody asked in there about mentorship. Reach out to me. I could provide some guidance as well, just depending on whatever you want to do. Again, I just want to end by saying I really, really appreciate you for putting this together and allowing us to have these conversations. And I hope other CRNAs can see that in our community, there's a lot of power and force in our community. But we only extract that by being able to come together, learn from each other, work with each other, and keep growing. So thank you. This has been like an amazing conversation, and I'm
Yeah,
grateful to be here.
thank you, Leslie. Can you tell us too, or the audience, real quick, about your ketamine clinic, if any of our colleagues are interested in doing something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. As I was getting ready to head out of the hospital, I didn't want to waste my anesthesia skills, so I thought, why don't give myself another challenge? So started a ketamine clinic here in Baltimore, Vita Nova Wellness Clinic. It's Baltimore Eastern Avenue. If you're looking to start it, I'm still in the early phases, still figuring out a lot of stuff. I'm putting all of that in writing so that I'm able to help other people in the future. But feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book. Whatever you need to learn, reach out. More than happy to share.
Yeah, thank you. Great point there. I know all the guys are willing to do this, but just asking questions is the biggest thing, guys. Like, if you have questions about investments or anything, reach out to people that have experience in it. And these guys are more than willing. I'm more than willing to talk with you all. So just send us a message. Josh, tell us all about you and where we can find you and the podcast and all that.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I'm the lifestyle CRNA on Instagram. Our podcast is Investing RN. That's going to be on all platforms. We also have an Instagram page. So go follow us there for that, for more information on that. we talk about mobile home parks, but we talk a lot about just kind of general real estate principles on there as well. Um, our real estate company is All Day Investments. We only buy mobile home parks now, and we also raise funds. I think all of us here raise funds. So if you ever want to put your money to work somewhere else, just reach out to us, DM us. Our podcast puts out a new episode every Tuesday morning.
Thank you, Josh. Good to meet you in person as well.
Yep.
I know we haven't got to do that, but maybe soon. Vince?
Yeah, so you can find me on Vinny Cagungun on all platforms. My businesses are Send Anesthesia, so a digital online CEU company that does your CEUs wherever you are on vacation. So that's like a big tool that a lot of our CRNAs use from a taxation standpoint. LaunchLending.com is my private lending company. So we have fully funded by CRNAs like loans for single family homes where we're doing these fix and flips up in Nebraska. You get 14%, great returns, very passive situation. Lastly, let's see. I got one more business that I got. Oh, the 1099 course that I'm putting out. It's really just to help people out so that you could go from employee W-2 to a business. And once you're a business, now I can open up a whole different can of worms for you. But until then, I can't. Because when you're a business, you have access to these different codes that you need from a taxation standpoint, classifications and stuff. So I'm creating a 1099 course called 1099 Locum Institute, and it will be out soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. This, I know we had some people say I didn't get to see the full live, but we're on platforms. This will be on Spotify, YouTube. Obviously, it'll stay up on Instagram as well. These guys are fully available for you to reach out to, check them out on their social media platforms as well as their businesses they have. And we'll do this again soon, hopefully, guys, and kind of dive deeper into maybe how this can help our fellow colleagues save more money at the end of the year and how they can learn to invest their money.
Right on.
Sounds
Appreciate
good.
you guys
All right,
trusting
thank
us.
you guys.
Appreciate
Hey,
it,
All right,
guys.
thank
to
you.
it.
Thank you all. See you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.